Hello everyone, Jeff Holiday here, and I have another heavy video for you. Super heavy. So buckle up, this one's not going to be the easiest one to listen to, much like any of the other ones where we have to talk about children. Now this story is as old as there is, well, people. It's the basic idea that when you have a faith-based system that teaches really, really bad ideas, the people that will always suffer the worst are children. Always. And the main reason for this is very obvious, because children are the least likely to be able to defend themselves or to speak up when there is something dangerous or bad happening to them. It's always going to be the most vulnerable people who will fall prey and be harmed when there is a harmful idea in place. Now this thing's been hitting pretty close to home for a long time now. You see, I live in the state of Oregon, and for some strange reason, Oregon has a tendency to attract some really loony fucking people. And this does happen all over the country, in fact it happens all over the world, but I tend to hear about these more often in my state than any other place, really anywhere. And what we're going to be talking about today is when a belief in a faith can be so strong that people will forego traditional medical treatments, and in the end, the result is dead kids. So we'll start off with the latest example. This one comes from Oregon City, which is an outlying town next to Portland, Oregon. Authorities are investigating the death of a baby girl born to two members of an Oregon church that embraces faith healing. Sergeant Dan Krause of the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office says a 24-year-old woman gave birth to two girls at her parents' home in Oregon City on March 5th. One of the babies had breathing problems and died a few hours later. A medical examiner contacted after the death determined the surviving infant needed professional medical treatment, and the family was persuaded to take that step. The parents are members of the Followers of Christ Church, a congregation that shuns traditional medicine in favor of prayer and anointing the sick with oils. Several church members have been convicted of crimes for failing to seek medical care for their children, including the sister of the woman who delivered the twins. Krause says investigators are collecting evidence to determine if charges are warranted in this case. So it's pretty bad. Pretty rough. This couple obviously could have sought out medical treatment when they were going into labor, and instead they did not. One of the babies had breathing problems and sadly passed away. And this is pretty common, but it's also not really the worst example. You see, that's not the only church in Oregon that's been doing this kind of shit. There's another one called the Church of the Firstborn, which has had over 80 children deaths attributed to its beliefs and practices since 1976. Now, 80 children in 40 years, well, that doesn't seem like a lot, but given this is a very small church, a very small congregation, well, that's actually quite a lot. That's about 2 kids a year. That's kind of fucked up. Church of the Firstborn preaches that their members, even young children, should forego medical treatment and instead rely on God alone. This belief extends even to the treatment of manageable disease and chronic conditions such as pneumonia and diabetes. So when Sybil Rossiter's teacher told her parents that she was worried that the 12-year-old had lost a considerable amount of weight in a single month and looked in ill health, her parents did not take her to the doctor. Instead, they relied on the church's teachings and prayer and watched their once vibrant little girl wither away and die from complications of untreated diabetes. Now, this is what's really fucked up about this. Sybil's mother, Winona, was well aware of the risks of refusing treatment. As a young person, she watched her 7-year-old brother die from a treatable form of leukemia when her own parents refused to seek medical help. And if that wasn't enough, her parents actually were charged in his death. So, her father received probation for his part in the crime. Her mother was acquitted. So obviously she knew that there was legal ramifications, even since she was a young girl, yet she still brought up her own daughter in the same manner, in the same treatment, and her daughter died. Sometimes one hard lesson, I guess, just isn't enough. Yet while the Rossiters' decision could land them in jail in Oregon, in some states it is still perfectly legal for parents to deny medical care or rely on unproven faith-based methods for their child, based on their religious beliefs. And this is really the crux of the issue. This is where it gets so complicated, because the idea behind this is that the pursuit of one's faith should be allowed no matter what, that you can practice however you want as long as it hurts no one. But when it hurts someone, then you get into this argument of whether or not faith is more important than the basic ability for someone to receive the necessary care for them to survive. And there's also a bit of a distinction you can make between people who die, unfortunately, because they did not seek medical treatment, or people who die because they had a preventable condition and did not seek medical treatment. Say you have somebody who falls and breaks their leg and it goes septic and they decide they're going to pray away the infection and they die. That's a little bit different. That's making, at that point, a distinct decision that you are not going to do something about an immediate condition. Whereas if you have something that is a long, drawn-out condition, such as diabetes, or you've contracted pneumonia, something that can be easily taken care of and managed, and then you willfully decide to ignore all symptoms as you get progressively worse and worse, that again, kind of an issue. But if we're just talking about adults, then so what? Make up your own fucking decision. You're a grown-ass adult. You want to fucking die because you don't want to go to the doctor? Fine. Fuck it. Goodbye. But kids don't get that option. Kids don't understand that. They are not adults. They do not have, let alone the right to be able to demand something be done because they're still under the guardianship of their parents. They don't have the mental or emotional capacity to make that decision for themselves. So where do we draw the line? When is it at the point where this is too far? Where is it where we say, your faith is not worth the life of a child who cannot make the decision of whether or not they want to live or not? Where is that line? When do we get to that line, and then what do we do about it? Because I gotta tell you, this last one we're gonna finish it off with is going to fuck you up. It fucked me up. So here we go. So now we come to the horrible case of Alex Erdanya from Calgary in Canada. Alexandra Erdanya, 15, weighed just 16 kilograms when he was found dead at his home in Calgary, Canada after suffering years of untreated diabetes. His parents, Emil, 60, and Rodisa Erdanya, 54, had made it their mission to isolate Alex from anyone who could monitor his insulin treatment since his diagnosis at the age of 2, a court heard. The Erdanyas were found guilty of first-degree murder on Friday at the end of the trial that showed harrowing testimony from witnesses, including a social worker who tried desperately to save the boy. Paramedic Deborah Baumbach gave distressing evidence regarding the condition of Alex's body when she was called to the scene of his death in 2013. She described him as emaciated to the point where he appeared mummified, Judge Karen Horner said at the couple's sentencing hearing. His face had no visible flesh left, and his left jaw had open sores so deep she could see his jawbone. There was nothing left of his stomach, as he was just so extraordinarily skinny. She estimated his waistline to be approximately 3 inches. He was dressed in a diaper and a t-shirt. His eyes were open. He was not breathing. The court heard there was no doubt that the Erdanyas, who have 7 other children, knew the damage they were inflicting on Alex. They actively prevented him from receiving treatment and ensured he was completely reliant on them. Mr. and Miss Erdanya intended to and did isolate Alex from anyone who could intervene or monitor his insulin treatment aside from themselves, Judge Horner said. Alex died as a result of bacterial sepsis brought on by extreme starvation. His physical condition at death was not a sudden or quick occurrence, but rather took place over months and probably, years. The evidence underscores that the Erdanyas were well aware how ill Alex was and still refused to treat his medical condition with proper insulin protocol and medical care. They knew he was dying. Witnesses testified that the couple refused to accept that their son had diabetes and failed to treat his disease until he had to be admitted to hospital near death in British Columbia in 2003. Following this time in the hospital, Alex had been placed in foster care, where he reportedly thrived. Tragically, less than a year later, a court ruled that he should be returned to his parents, who subsequently moved their family out of the area. During the trial, the social worker who fought desperately to keep Alex in foster care likened the decision by Judge J.G. Cohen to a death sentence. Patricia McDonald did everything in her power to stop then 5-year-old boy from being returned to his parents in 2004, after he was seized by social services the year before. At the time of his 2003 removal, Alex had been emaciated from untreated diabetes and so close to death that one doctor testified he would have had just hours to live if he didn't receive treatment. I had to hold on to the bench in front of me, and I just said under my breath, "He's just sentenced Alex to death," Miss McDonald told CBS after completing her testimony last week. This was Alex. Alex died at 15, so emaciated and skinny after suffering more agony than most human beings will ever know in their entire lifetimes. And this happened because of the direct and intentional malicious treatment that was done to him by his parents. And why would they do such a thing? Faith. Because of their faith. Now, I'm not going to be the kind of person to say that all faith is bad. Like, fuck your religion or anything like that. Not at all. What I will say is that if your religion comes at the cost of a child's life, then I have a problem with it. I have a severe problem with it. And this kind of thing cannot keep happening. Pseudoscience and faith have basically the same problem. People forego their ability to trust in all the things that we've achieved as a species, scientifically, medically, and instead rely on their feelings or bad information or manipulative people. And when that happens, the most innocent of us are always going to be the ones that fall victim to it and have the most tragic ends. It's difficult for me because I try and think, I try and put myself into the position of the people who would do such a thing. That your belief in a God is so strong that you'll forego your own child's life and just simply believe this as a test. How fucking selfish is that? How incredibly, unbelievably selfish and shitty is that? You want validation of your faith so much that you will let your own child die. I don't get it. I mean, why not just believe that, hey, you know, God made man, man made medicine, so why shouldn't we use the fruits of God's labor, the brilliance that came from his own creation? No, somehow, magically, this is all bad? Why? Because some dusty old fart who's carrying on an ignorant, stupid, backward fucking belief from years and years and years ago tells you that selectively, objectively, this one thing, oh, that's bad. Modern amenities and everything, running water, toilets, air conditioning, refrigeration, those are fine. Those man-made creations, those are fucking fine. Oh, but treating diabetes to save your starving, withering away fucking child? No, that's bad. That's anti-God. I mean, look, I know that this video is not going to be reaching the ears and changing the minds of people who are so religiously indoctrinated that they would put their children at risk. I understand that. I'm not that fucking naive. But this will hopefully reach some people who might see these types of things happening. And for the love of sweet fuck, if you see this kind of thing happening, tell someone, report it, get fucking involved. That kid cannot do it on their own. And if the parents are so brainwashed they will put their children at risk, they're brainwashed enough to do fucking anything. They are crazy. They are fucking crazy people. They need to be stopped. We need to get tougher on this type of shit. We really do. We find ourselves in these ridiculous fights with Child Protective Services over the most inane and stupid shit. Yet at the same time, because we're so afraid, we're so terrified of pissing off and offending somebody over their fucking religion, that this happens? How? Why? Who the fuck answers for this? The best case scenario is after it happens, they go to jail. And that's only if they live in the right state where that type of thing can be prosecuted, because there's plenty where they'll never get prosecuted. And they usually have a lot more fucking kids. It has to stop. This shit has just gotta fucking stop. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. If you find any of these crazy, crazy things happening, bad pseudoscience, bad examples of faith, people tossing away any type of science literacy or understanding or anything like that, by all means, please go to my subreddit, reddit.com/r/JeffHoliday. Leave me links. It's the best way to drop information for me to take a look at, because if there is enough of this happening, if there's enough of this kind of shit going on a weekly basis, I do still want to do some sort of wrap-up video where I do get more involved in this pseudoscience topic again, because I've missed it. I really want to do it, and I think it's important. So please, help me continue the conversation. Hit up my subreddit. We'll have a chat. We'll talk about it. I would appreciate it. Very, very much so. And for everybody else out there, I hope this doesn't wreck your day too much. And try to keep Alex in your mind, at least a little bit. Remember him, remember the shit that happened to him, and when that type of situation comes up, do the right thing. Try and have a good day. All right. Bye.